Hello, good afternoon, my love, when I saw my grandson with that huge tool. I could not contain myself. I never imagined that at 40 years old, my life would take such an unexpected and forbidden turn. Elena was always considered the favorite grandmother by my family. Mother at 17, grandmother at 35. I was young enough to understand modern jargon, but old enough to offer wise advice. Or at least, that's what I thought. My life was always a little out of the ordinary. I got pregnant young. I struggled to raise my son alone and built a career as a graphic designer at 40. I felt fulfilled in many ways, but something was still missing. Maybe it was the excitement of youth, the adrenaline of new experiences. Little did I know I was about to live something that would change everything. It all started when my grandson Lucas came to living with me to attend college at 23, was the spitting image of his father. My son at the same age, tall, with piercing green eyes and a smile that lit up any room. But there was something else about him, a maturity and intensity that intrigued me. "Grandma, are you sure it won't be a bother if I stay here, Lucas?" he asked as he unloaded his bags from the car. I smiled, helping him with a box. "Of course not, honey. It will be great to have company." Little did I know how true and dangerous those words would be. The first few months were calm. Lucas adapted well to the routine of the house, dividing his time between studies and small freelance jobs he did on the computer. I continued with my normal life, working as a graphic designer from home and occasionally going out with friends or on a date. It was a casual night, Friday, when things started to change. I had canceled a date, preferring to stay at home. Lucas didn't have any plans either. We decided to watch a movie together, something we hadn't done for weeks due to our busy schedules. "How about some wine to accompany Grandma?" suggested Lucas, already heading to the kitchen. "Good idea," I answered, settling myself on the couch. I watched him move around the kitchen, noticing how his shirt fitted his muscles in a way that I looked away, mentally scolding him for those thoughts. Lucas came back with a bottle, and 2 glasses, sat next to me closer than usual. The heat of his body was perceptible, and a soft aroma of his perfume reached me, waking me up something that had been sleeping for a long time. The movie was a romantic drama, full of intense scenes and passion. With each sip of wine, I felt my mind lighter and my body more aware of Lucas's presence beside me. In a hot state, I noticed that he had tensed. I looked sideways and realized he was peeing, watching me. Not. Our eyes met, and for a moment the air seemed to electrify Grandma. He began with a hoarse voice. "Lucas," I interrupted him, not knowing what to say before we could continue. The phone rang, breaking the moment. It was my daughter Lucas's mother calling to see how we were. The conversation was brief and uncomfortable, with the guilt of what almost happened weighing on every word. After that, things changed subtly. There was a tension in the air, an electricity that seemed to grow every day. I caught myself watching Lucas when he wasn't looking, admiring how his shirt fitted his muscles, or how his eyes sparkled when he talked about his projects. Lucas, for his part, seemed to always be around. He offered to help me with chores. He asked about my work opportunities for us to be alone one afternoon while I was working on a project in my office at Casa Lucas. He came in to ask me for help with a college assignment. "Sure, honey, what do you need?" I asked, turning my chair to look at him. He came closer, leaning over me to see the computer screen. His chest brushed my shoulder, and I felt my stop. His scent enveloped me, a mixture of soap, aftershave lotion, and something that was uniquely Lucas. "It's this design here," he said, his voice low and close to my ear. "I can't get it to look right." I tried to concentrate on the screen, but it was impossible with him. So close, I turned my face to talk to him, and I realized our lips were a distance away. Time seemed to stop. I saw the desire in his eyes reflecting what I felt. I knew I should move away, say something, break that moment, but my body didn't respond. Lucas was the first to move, closing the distance between us. His lips found mine hesitantly at first, but soon the kiss years of repressed desire exploded. Suddenly my hands found his neck, pulling him towards me. His explored my body with an urgency that left me breathless. Each touch was like fire on my skin, awakening sensations that I thought had been dormant for a long time. When we pulled away panting, the reality of what we had done fell on us like a bucket of cold water. This can't happen, I said. With a shaking voice, Lucas pulled away, running his hands through his hair in a gesture of frustration. I know, but I can't stop thinking about you, Grandma, and us. The word grandma hit me like a punch in the stomach, brutally reminding me of our relationship. How wrong what we were doing was. Lucas, I'm your grandma. This is wrong on so many levels. I know, he replied with his voice heavy with emotion, but I don't care what I feel for you. It's real. In the days that followed, we tried to stay away from each other. I dove into work, taking on more projects than I could handle. Lucas spent more time away from the house, coming in late and leaving early. But the tension between us was palpable. Every time we crossed paths in the kitchen or the living room, the air was charged with an unfulfilled desire. Our eyes met and held a little longer than they should. Each accidental touch was like an electric current. One night I couldn't stand it any longer. I heard Lucas come home late, probably thinking I would be already asleep. I left my room and found him in the kitchen drinking water. Our eyes met, and without saying a word, we moved towards each other. The kiss was desperate, full of repressed desire and guilt. "This is crazy," you murmured. "I know." Lucas replied, his hands exploring my body with a familiarity that scared me and excited me at the same time. "But I can't stay away from you." We made love right there in the kitchen, with our clothes scattered on the floor. It was wrong. It was forbidden. But it was intense and passionate. Like nothing I had ever experienced before, Lucas touched me, as if I were the most precious thing in the world. Each caress was a mix of reverence and burning desire. Afterwards, lying on the living room couch, guilt began to seep in. "What are we doing, Lucas?" I asked with a broken voice. He pulled me closer, kissing my forehead. "I don't know, Grandma. I just know that I've never felt anything like this before." The days that followed were a roller coaster of emotions. We tried to resist. We really tried. But it was like a floodgate had opened, and it was now impossible to contain the flow of desire between us. We found times and places for our clandestine encounters in the bathroom, while the shower drowned out our moans in my office late at night, and even in the car parked in a secluded spot. That we were together, I swore it would be the last time. But then Lucas would look at me that way, or brush his hand against mine during dinner, and all my resolve would fade away. Guilt would consume me. How could I do this? He was my grandson, my son's son. Every call from the family, every picture on the walls, was a painful reminder of what we were doing one night after another, of our passionate encounters. Lucas broke the postcoital silence with a suggestion that chilled me to the bone. "What if we tell the family?" he said, his fingers tracing patterns on my bare skin. "And if we run away together?" I sat up abruptly, the shock evident on my face. "Lucas, you've gone crazy. That would destroy our family." He sat down too, with his intense eyes fixed on mine. "But how can we go on living like this hidden feeling? Guilty." "I love you, Elena." The use of my name instead of Grandma hit me like a bolt of lightning. It was the first time he called me that since it all started. "I love you too, Lucas," I admitted, feeling tears starting to form in my eyes. "But this can't go on. It's wrong on so many levels. Who decides what's right or wrong?" argued his voice. "Passionate, we're two consenting adults. We're not hurting anyone except our entire family." "If they find out," I replied. We stood in silence for a long moment, with the weight of our situation weighing on us. How could we continue? How could we stop? The days that followed were tense. We tried to stay away, but it was as if our bodies had a will of their own. One look, an accidental rose, and we were back in each other's arms, consumed by a passion that seemed uncontrollable. It was on a Sunday afternoon when everything changed. We were in the kitchen preparing lunch together when the doorbell rang before we could react. We heard the voice of my son, Lucas's father, coming from the living room. "Mom, Lucas is there." Panic hit us like a wave. We quickly moved away, trying to look as normal as possible. But when my son came into the kitchen, I'm sure he felt the tension in the air. "Hello," Dad said. Lucas, his voice a little higher than normal. "We weren't expecting you today. I was nearby and I thought I would make a surprise visit." He put his eyes moving between the two of us. "Everything okay this way?" "Clear, dear," I answered. forcing a smile. We were just preparing lunch. Do you want to join us? Lunch was torture. Every look exchanged between Lucas and me seemed to scream our secret. My son asked casual questions about our routine, about Lucas's studies, and every answer seemed like a lie, even when it was the truth. After Lucas and I left, we looked at each other and the reality of our situation finally hit us with all its force. We can't go on like this, I said, my voice shaking. Lucas nodded with tears shining in his eyes. I know, but how can we stop? How can I live without you? Now I had no answer for that. The truth was that as much as it was wrong, I didn't know how to go back. The idea of not having Lucas in my arms, of not feeling his kisses, his caresses seemed unbearable to me that night. We made love. For the last time, it was slow, passionate. Every touch was a goodbye. We tried to memorize every detail, every sensation, knowing that it would be the last time. The next morning, Lucas announced that he would move to a dorm on campus. The decision hurt, but we knew it was necessary. We needed distance to get over this, to try to get back to normal. While I helped him pack his bags, every object we kept seemed to carry a memory of our time together. The silence between us was heavy, full of unspoken words and promises we could never keep when the time came for Lucas to leave. We hugged one last time. I love you, he whispered in my ear. I love you too, I replied with a broken voice. But sometimes love is not enough. I watched Lucas's car drive away, taking with it a part of me. My heart knew that nothing would be the same as before. Our relationship, our family had changed irreversibly in the months that followed. I tried to resume my normal life. I immersed myself in work. I spent more time with friends. I even tried some dates, but nothing filled the void that Lucas had left in family events. Our eyes still were loaded with everything we had lived, of everything we could never have. It was a constant pain, a reminder of the price we paid for our forbidden passion. A year after Lucas left, I received an invitation to his graduation. My heart tightened at the thought of seeing him again, being in the same space as him, knowing that we could not be together the day of the ceremony. I sat next to my son and his wife, watching Lucas receive his diploma. He was handsome, mature. His eyes sparkled with pride and realization. Our eyes met for a brief moment, and I felt my heart skip a beat. After the ceremony, during the reception, Lucas came to me. "Hello, Grandma," he said in a soft voice. "Hello, dear," I replied, trying to keep my composure. Congratulations on the graduation. We remained in an awkward silence for a few seconds, the weight of our history floating between us. "Can we talk in private?" asked Lucas. Finally, I nodded, and we discreetly moved away from the crowd. We found a quiet corner in the garden of the campus. "How are you?" he asked, with his green eyes studying intensely. "I'm fine. I lied, and you?" Lucas sighed. "Honestly, it's been hard. Not a day goes by without me thinking about you, about us." I felt my breathing stop. "Lucas, I know, he interrupted. "We can't go back. But I wanted you to know that what we lived, it was real for me. The most real thing I have ever felt." Tears formed in my eyes. "For me too," I admitted. "But we have to move on." Lucas nodded, a sad smile on his lips. "I got a job in another city," he said. "I think the distance will help." My heart tightened with the news, but I knew it was for the best. "I'm proud of you, Lucas. You're going to do amazing things." We hugged, and for a moment all the love and desire we felt for each other threatened to resurface, but we separated before anything could happen. "Goodbye, Elena," he said, using my name once again. "Goodbye, Lucas," I replied, feeling a part of me going with him. Years went by. Lucas built his career in the new city. Eventually, he got married and had his own children. I got on with my life, focusing on work and family. We saw each other occasionally at family gatherings, always keeping a respectful distance. But the look we shared always carried with it the memory of what we had experienced today at 60 years old. I look back and think of that intense and forbidden summer. The guilt is still there, as is the regret for the lies and the risk we took. But there is also a part of me that refuses to repent completely. What I experienced with Lucas taught me about the intensity of desire over the complex D of love, and about the limits that society imposes on our emotions. It was a mistake. It was dangerous. But it was also the most profound and transformative experience of my life. Sometimes when I am alone, I allow myself to relive those moments in my mind. The touch of his hands, the warmth of his kisses, the connection we felt is a bittersweet memory, a secret that I will carry with me forever. Lucas and I never speak again about what happened. It is a closed chapter in our lives, a shared secret that unites us and separates us at the same time. But sometimes when our eyes meet at a family meeting, I see in his eyes the reflection of that passion that once consumed us. I know that what we did was wrong in the eyes of society and morality. I know that we ran the risk of destroying our family, but I also know that for a brief moment, I experienced a love and a passion that many spend their entire lives without knowing. And maybe in the end, that is the greatest lesson I learned, that love in all its forms is a powerful and unpredictable force that sometimes takes us we never imagined, makes us question everything. We thought we knew about ourselves as I watch my family grow. I watch Lucas with his children being the loving father I always knew I would be. I see the life we built for the decisions that Tom, and although there is a pang of what if in my heart, I know that in the end we made the right decision. Our story will always remain as a secret. A summer of forbidden passion kept deep in our hearts. A reminder that life is complex, that love does not always follow the rules, and that sometimes the greatest act of love is to leave and be. And so with the weight of this secret and the richness of this experience, I continue my path, a woman marked by a forbidden passion, but determined to live each day fully carrying with me the lessons of love, desire, and sacrifice that I learned in that unforgettable summer with my grandson.